welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing a new foundation from Saie. This is their Glowy Super Skin Lightweight Hydrobounce Serum Foundation. I have been using this foundation for a few days now so I can give you not just a review on how it wears and how it looks throughout the day, but also on how I made it work on my skin type and who I think this foundation will be best suited for. This costs 52 Canadian dollars, which at this point in time in 2023, where everything is expensive, I think that 52 Canadian dollars is now at that mid-price point for high-end foundations. Also, I think that this is at that price point because it has 85% skincare ingredients and it is a clean brand. It is available in 36 shades and I got the shade 11 Linen, which is for light to medium skin tones with peach undertones, which I think is the perfect match for me. When it comes to claims, this foundation claims to be an ultra hydrating foundation that brightens and evens out the appearance of skin upon application. It comprised of 85% skincare ingredients and 15% weightless pigment. It also claims to have this glowy super skin's breathable formula that hydrates and achieves flawless skin-like coverage that lasts all day. So for reference, I have oily combination skin, I have an oily T-zone, dry in some other parts. I also have hyperpigmentation on the top of my cheek. And I also have texture and big pores on the side of my cheeks. To use this, they said that you really have to shake the bottle well to activate the formula and that separation is normal. When I used this on myself and I dispensed the foundation on the back of my hand, I did not see any separation of the pigments and the skincare ingredients, and I did really shake it well. I did notice though, I used my fingers to apply it on my face. It looks a little darker, but when I started to buff it into my face, it started to become lighter and it suited my skin tone better. I think that the key to applying this foundation is to really have a dense, compact brush because it is very emollient. If you use a thin brush or a flatter brush, it would create streaks, and if you're going to use a sponge, it might just absorb the foundation. So for me, what really worked was to dispense the foundation in the back of my hand, use my fingers to put the foundation on my face, wait for about 10 seconds. With that 10 seconds, I also feel like some of the skincare ingredients gets absorbed so it's not too dewy, and then I use my brush and I do a patting motion instead of a buffing motion or a circular motion because again, this is very emollient. So tapping the foundation with my brush is, I think, the best way to apply this on your face. I didn't see the brightening effect of this foundation on my skin, but I definitely saw the plumping effect of this foundation on my skin. And when I applied it on, it felt a little warm. It felt like I was applying a facial oil. I guess it's because it has all of that skincare ingredients and it has 85% skincare ingredients. So it felt like putting on layers of skincare instead of a foundation. And on initial application, I really saw the dewiness of this foundation. This is one of the most dewy foundation I have ever tried. The first time I tried it, it gave me like a borderline sweaty look because it is just looking so wet. It doesn't look like glass skin, it looks more like wet skin. But it did really even out my skin tone. It hid the redness on my face. I wouldn't say it helped in blurring out my pores, but it didn't also highlight it. And it gave me a medium coverage with just one pump for my whole face. You can see that it really helped in covering my hyperpigmentation as well. Now when it comes to other products on top of this foundation, I use a cream bronzer, but I did not directly apply the cream bronzer on my face. I just warm it up on the back of my hand first, and I made sure that the consistency is as thin as the foundation before applying it on because again, this foundation is so emollient. So sometimes if I apply the cream foundation directly, it looks too much because the foundation is just so thin, so I thinned it out on the back of my hand first before applying it on my face. And that gave me a seamless application when it comes to cream. When it comes to blush, I use a liquid blush. I find that liquid blush works better with this foundation because it is thinner than cream. So when it comes to powder, I chose the Laura Mercier Translucent Soft Glow powder with this foundation because first, the powder is very fine, so it wouldn't look cakey on top of this foundation. I also chose that powder because it has a luminous finish, so it wouldn't really mattify my face too much. Because this foundation is very glowy, I don't want to take away all that dewiness and glow from this foundation, but I want this foundation to stay on my face, so I have to make sure that I set this with powder. But I find the balance between making this foundation last on my face at the same time not taking away the dewiness of this foundation too much with using the Estee Lauder Translucent Soft Glow powder. After setting this with powder, I appreciated this foundation so much more, especially for my textured oily skin. When I powdered it down, it looks very skin-like and it really toned down the dewiness, because without the powder, it was very excessive. It was very dewy, and again to the point that I look kind of sweaty. And when it comes to photography, this is how my skin looks like with flash photography and non-flash photography, and this is how my face looks like on natural light. When it comes to wearability, I wasn't really expecting this foundation to last on my face because it was very dewy and it doesn't set itself. You really have to use powder, and I also use a setting spray with this foundation because I know that it definitely wouldn't set. After 10 minutes of wear without powder, it was still very dewy and it really transferred on my finger whenever I touch it. So I wasn't expecting this to really stay on my face, but with proper setting with powder and setting spray, this is how it looks like on the 4th hour. It still gave me that very natural medium coverage, and it didn't oxidize at me. It just looks very natural. And this is how it looks like on the 8th hour. I would say that it thinned out a bit. It didn't have a medium coverage anymore. I would say it is more on the light coverage side, but it is still there. It didn't oxidize, it didn't crease, it didn't sink into any of my fine lines. Also, I did not find myself looking very oily, although I live here in Canada and the weather is still cold, so I did not test this under humidity. But usually by the end of the day, I get oily on my T-zone, but with this foundation, even though on initial application it was very dewy, it was very excessively dewy, at the end of the day, with proper setting and finishing spray, I did not find myself very oily. So I'm giving this foundation a 4 out of 5 stars based on its claims and how it wears on my face throughout the day. Claims were mostly true, but the two claims that I find was not necessarily true when I wore this foundation is first the brightening effect. I didn't see any brightness when I put this foundation on, and also when they said that this is a long-lasting foundation. Although this lasted pretty well on my face, they did not mention that you really have to set this with powder for it to last all day. When I read the claims, it just looks like just put it on and it would last on your face, and I really don't think that's the case because this foundation is very emollient, and for sure it would either transfer or slip off my face without powder or setting spray. I think that this foundation is suited for people who are looking for a clean foundation with good skincare ingredients. I also think that this will benefit people with dehydrated skin and people with mature skin because this foundation is very hydrating. But I have to caution you with how many pumps of foundation you can use. For me, 1 pump is enough. It already gave me the medium coverage. I think that if you use 2 or more pumps on your face, I think that because it is very emollient, it can get into fine lines and on the sides of your nose. So I will be very careful on how much you put on. For my gals who has oily combination skin with proper setting and priming as well, this could really work. I made it work on myself and I actually really enjoyed using this, but I would not suggest using this during the summer months. I would imagine using this during the winter time when my skin is usually dry, but on the summertime I would not gravitate towards this foundation. And for people with very oily skin, I don't see why you would want this foundation because it is very dewy. And I know that before, when I was very oily, even if I use a matte primer or a mattifying powder, by the end of the day, the dewiness would still seep through my skin. So I don't think this is the foundation for you. If you want a clean brand with good skincare ingredients, there are a lot of clean brands at Sephora that has a matte finish that I think is more suited for very oily skin. I think that the main selling point of this foundation is its skincare ingredients and it being a clean brand. I think that if you are looking for a product that has good skincare ingredients and a medium coverage in one, then this foundation is for you. I also think that this is more of an everyday foundation. I'm not sure how it would stand up for more of a glam look, and I think that this foundation was not intended for that. But overall, I really enjoyed using this foundation on my skin. I love that it gave me a really natural finish. I love that it hydrated my skin and it wears pretty well throughout the day. If you have tried this foundation, let me know in the comment down below how you feel about this foundation, and if you have any questions that I did not cover on this video, just comment down below. I'll be happy to answer all of your questions. And if you find this video helpful, please don't forget to like this video, please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll always be updated once a new video is out. Thank you so much once again for watching. I'll see you on my next one.